Welcome in, everybody, to another edition of 410 Sports Talk. I'm James Haskell, along with my co-host Glenn Martin and DK in the background. It is officially the offseason. Season is over. 2024 or 25 is in the books. Season 2024, whatever you call it. The Eagles are now Super Bowl champions, and we'll talk about that. But we're here to talk about, of course, our Baltimore Ravens and what the Ravens took away from the Super Bowl. But before we get into this, we absolutely want to shout out our sponsor. It's a new year, Glenn. But some things just don't change.
No, some things don't change. And the one thing that's never going to change is that BetOnline is still and continues to be the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for online betting in 2025. Whether you're a seasoned fan or a first-time bettor, BetOnline is your ultimate game day companion with the largest selections of odds on everything from NBA, college basketball to the NHL and UFC. BetOnline continues to be your number one sports betting source. From every three-pointer to hat trick, BetOnline has you covered with odds, stats, and more for every game, every play, and every win. BetOnline, the game starts here. And Jimbo, not even BetOnline could have predicted the ass-whipping we saw Super Bowl Sunday. Shocked the world. I'll say it. I don't think anyone, even the most optimistic of Chiefs fans, could have predicted the complete and total shellacking of the Kansas City Chiefs. I mean, I know most fans were concerned that this game was going to come down to a one-score game, and that the refs may have somehow factored into the decision. The Eagles left no doubt on the field. They left no ability for the refs to make any impact in the game. They completely destroyed them, Jimbo.
Yeah, it was. You couldn't wipe the smile off my face. In all honesty, I didn't watch the whole game because I wasn't incredibly intrigued about people talking about the Chiefs for the next 4 hours, right? Like I just wasn't going to deal with it. But I once I saw the score and I saw they getting absolutely shellacked, I was like, yeah, I'm interested in this. So I did turn it on. You know, I was starting to think that maybe the league just carried the refs, or the refs just carried the Chiefs, got the ratings. You know, you use them. What's it? Use them, abuse them, and lose them type thing. And they said, look, now you made it to the Super Bowl. We got you here. Now you can play straight up. Right. I think, Glenn, to your point, in this game, they lost the penalty battle.
First time in 11 straight playoff games.
And they got destroyed. I mean, absolutely wrecked. And there's a lot of takeaways from this game. But first and foremost, I don't even know if other outlets have said this, because I honestly listen to very, very few, national media. But I will say this: we beat the drum on the Eagles, and I think we identified two things. One, the way that they beat us was recognizable. And then I think, Glenn, you'll agree, it was one of the few games where we didn't necessarily like beat the heck out of ourselves, right? But like they played a solid game.
They forced mistakes rather than just us having unforced errors.
Us stubbing our toes all the time, right? Like they played a solid football game. And the way they can control the line of scrimmage offensively and defensively, I think this season was consistently probably second to none.
Right. Yeah.
And I think we saw that show up in this game.
Yeah, no doubt. And in a game that really didn't need Saquon to be Saquon. I mean, a game where he had, I'm going to throw it up here. He had 25 carries, barely cracked 50 yards. Like, the Chiefs did a good job. You got to give Spagnuolo credit in the sense that he wasn't going to let Saquon beat him. But the problem was Jalen Hurts had no problem airing the ball out, getting the ball down the field to his playmakers. And that was the difference. Jalen played a much better game. A lot of what we're going to see here on the left side of the screen was done when the game was already at hand. Patrick Mahomes was absolutely dreadful in the first half, throwing some of the worst interceptions that you'll see. But I mean, you see there, Jalen Hurts had a really bad interception early on when they were in field goal range that was really inexcusable. Fortunately for the Eagles and Eagles fans, it didn't come back to bite them. But other than that, 17 to 22, 221 and 2 touchdowns. But really, what he did on the ground, 11 carries, 72 yards, another touchdown on the ground. As you can see here, Saquon completely bottled up all afternoon. They continued to run the guy, of course, with that type of lead. But Jimmy, they didn't even need Saquon to absolutely dismantle the Chiefs.
No, I mean, it was pretty impressive because, of course, that's what everybody was talking about throughout the buildup, right? Like, you got to stop Saquon. It's got to be a total team effort, and et cetera. But shout out to the Eagles for playing a complete game. I mean, I think mistakenly, people forgot about number 11, A.J. Brown. People forgot about Devontae Smith and the absolute force that he is as a player. But I think ultimately what they did is they made the Chiefs defensively on the outside just play straight up because they had to consider Saquon. They had to consider Hurts' ability to run. And so, and they didn't make, I mean, yeah, like you said, they had an interception, but they didn't make a ton of mistakes. Look, we said it. They won the penalty game.
Yeah. I mean, early on, they shot themselves in the foot with some missed throws and the interceptions, like what uncharacteristically bad, but from Pat Mahomes, who has just been unanimously dubbed as the greatest quarterback in the league and the heir apparent to Tom Brady. I found it interesting, and we're going to get back to some of these box scores here, but I found it interesting some early quarterback lists. Not only has Pat Mahomes fallen from number 1, I've seen lists where he's as low as 5 now, behind, pretty much every list has Lamar as the number 1 now quarterback in the league, but I saw him 5 behind Allen, Burrow, and Jaden Daniels. So that's pretty interesting, like one game. Now, he played poorly. I think that's a little unfair to drop the guy from 1st to 5th after one game, but I think it really shows how bad they were. Got to give a little shout out. Xavier Worthy really had a coming out party, made some really tough grabs. That 50-yard catch was not easy. Hit the ground violently and hung on to the ball. Got to give that guy credit. But look, they loaded the box. They sold out to stop Saquon, and the guys down on the outside made plays down the field. Jahan Dotson with a big catch. Devontae Smith did his thing. A.J. Brown obviously did his thing. But really, the story, Jimbo, it wasn't their offense. It was what that damn Philly defense was doing all day to the Kansas City offense. They had no answers for, and particularly what that front was doing. Josh Sweat, 2.5 sacks. Milton Williams, 2 sacks. Jordan Davis, the big fella, adds a sack. Jalix Hunt adds another sack. And it was more than just them actually getting there. It was the amount of pressures, the hurries.
Yep.
I mean, they had this guy running for his life. He didn't know what to do. And then the secondary, eyes on the football, making plays on the ball. Shout out to Cooper DeJean for getting the interception, bringing it back for a touchdown. Jimbo, that defense completely dominated the Chiefs' offense.
Yeah, man. Our guy Cooper DeJean, right? I mean, obviously, I like Nate Wiggins.
He's sneaky.
But yeah, that's right. Sneaky athletic, dude.
That's right.
No, I love me some Nate Wiggins. I think we made the right pick there. But no, I mean, their picks hit as far as their young guys played well. But just like you said, Glenn, it was the band of brothers up front, man. They should have, I mean, the other guys, or Jalen Hurts deserved the MVP. But man, if you could give a group the MVP, right, to put on that performance on that stage against that guy who every media member has, just like you said, has a shrine of Patrick Mahomes in their corner office, right? Who every national media outlet has made millions upon millions of dollars talking about, right? To just go in there and say, we don't care about any of that. We're going to impose our will on you, right? And even a lot of people thought that this offensive line was top 2, top 3, top 5, whatever. And sure, they might be good, but what does Stephen A say all the time? There's levels to this. Doesn't he say
they're a good offensive? That is talking about 2 all pros on the same offensive line. Like,
I guess there's levels to this, Glenn.
I guess so, because it didn't look like it. Holy.
Because look, and the unique thing to me about the Eagles' defensive line is their combination of speed, strength, and athleticism, right? So they can beat you if you're really athletic. They'll overpower you, right? And I think we kind of saw that. There was a lot of, at least to me when I saw it with my eyes, a lot of overpowering up front. And if you're incredibly strong, well, they're probably more athletic than you and probably faster than you, right? Like the combination there with makes it difficult. But look, dude, those boys came out to play. They got the Coach Yo speech, even though they didn't blitz, that we were going to blitz all night speech, even though they didn't have to blitz.
Literally.
Like, they are not going to gain another yard. I think they had 38 yards at halftime.
I think he had like 18. I think Pat Mahomes had 18 passing yards.
Doo-doo. Like, what? And look, it's easy to say this now, and obviously we stubbed our toes to the Bills, but if the Ravens and Super Bowl, that's a way different game. That's all I got to say.
Oh, man, that's the problem. It's the what if. We'll
For sure.
really.
But let's talk about this, Glenn. Like at a 30,000 foot view, we saw this game. We saw the absolute dominance of the Eagles, and we talked about the things that they've done. But what did you learn from this game, or how differently do you feel about the Ravens from a strategy perspective or even a roster construction perspective? Any way you want to look at it, how do you feel differently about the Ravens now based on what you saw in Super Bowl? Because look, the Chiefs aren't going anywhere, right?
Mm-mm.
They're in our conference no matter what, so we're going to have to go through them every
Yep.
single season if we want to get to where the Eagles just got. So talk to me about kind of what you're feeling.
Yeah, I think what we learned is it was more of more of an emphasis put on what we already have been saying, for a long time. We talk about winning in the trenches, but damn, did this not just highlight that to the nth degree, right? Like, not only do you have to win it, like, do you want to be good in the trenches? The Eagles were completely dominant and overpowering. The fact that they were able to create that kind of pressure to disrupt Pat Mahomes to the point where there were multiple plays where he was choosing to run from a perfectly good pocket because he was so shook up from what's been happening to him all night that he was literally running himself out of the play when he didn't even need to at times because he's been so harassed he was seeing ghosts out there.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that they were able to do that with just a four-man pass rush is absolutely insane. And what it showed me is that you can't just simply be dominant at the edge. You can't just come out there and go, look, we got two great edges. Deal with it. You can't double them both. You got to do. That's not even good enough. You can't come out and say, we're going to absolutely destroy you with the most dominant interior pass rush that you've ever seen. We're going to come out with a combination of two interior rushers that your guards and center, they can't deal. That's not good enough. You got to be good at the inside and on the outside. And that's how good the Eagles were. They were just as dominant on the inside as they are on the out. Those guys complemented each other perfectly. And when the interior was doing their job, so was the outside, and they worked harmoniously to just make a living hell for Pat Mahomes. So I think what we learned is you can't just be dominant in one area on that D-line now. You got to be impactful in the inside and on the outside as a pass rusher, not just the days of having a big slobber knocker at D tackle who can't move his feet and plays no impact on the pass game. I think those might be done, Jimbo. I think that's the dinosaur, the Brandon Williams. I think that's a dinosaur now. I think what you need now is more athleticism on the inside and then a dominant pass rush on the outside.
Yeah. I think to your point, Glenn, I think really that's where the focus lies, right? Is that how much better can we get from last year to this year from a D-line perspective, right? How
far off are we?
Right, exactly. How many moves away are we? If you look at the guys we got from an interior perspective, outside of the Eagles, I don't know if there's a ton of units. If you look at like our big guys on the inside, if you look at Travis Jones, Justin Metabike, and we'll add Michael Pierce in there for now. We know there's some rumors that, he could be done, whatever. Whatever, you could throw Brent Urban in there for the sake of the rotation, right? Like if you just look at the inside guys, there's probably not too many units that are better. But I think the concern that I have, obviously the Eagles, but there's not a ton of them out there that are better if you're looking at the interior guys.
Right.
But if you're looking at the outside guys, it's just like you said, it's the combination of. This is not a knock on Kyle Van Noy. This is a little bit of a knock on Odafe. Sorry, Odafe. But is it reasonable to think that we can get better there and maintain our guys on the inside at the same time from a production perspective? I think so.
No, I think it's going to certainly take a commitment. It's certainly going to take a draft commitment, right? Like the best player available motto, which we all, I think, agree that is only true to a certain degree. Like the Ravens have shown that certainly they'll take the best player available. But if they have a glaring need, they'll certainly adjust that theory pretty quickly, at least in the top end of the draft. But to your point, Jimbo, I don't think you could necessarily point to too many teams that are going to be better on the inside when you have Travis Jones, Metabike, Broderick Washington. Even if we don't have a return from Michael Pierce, they're pretty good. I guess you could get more athletic than Broderick Washington, bring in maybe more of a pass rusher. He doesn't provide much in that regard, but
Oh, and Pride of
Madubuike,
Washington, you're right.
Madubuike's very highly paid, and he's one of the very best. And Travis Jones, I don't think anybody's going to say he's not good enough to keep around. So I think you're close there. But they, even with 2 double-digit sack guys, I don't think you could realistically say that they are dominant. And here's why, at least on the edges. And even on the inside, they need to be better. Kyle Van Noy last year, 413 pass rush snaps. That was let's see, 30th. 30th in the league. 13 sacks, tied for 5th. Okay, so pretty good there. 52 pressures, that's 24th. All right, but now let's get to Odafe Owe. 452 snaps, pass rush snaps, that's 18th, 10 sacks. Okay, 452 passes, you got 10 sacks. I feel like that efficiency has to pick it up. He had 48 pressures, which was 29th. That's not good enough, in my opinion. And he had a 13% pass rush win, which was 39th. David Ajabo, 2 sacks on 181 pass rush snaps. Is that good enough? 4 sacks for Tavius on 257. I don't know if that's going to get it done, Jimbo. So I think they need to certainly commit to fixing this edge position at the very least.
Yeah. Yeah, like I couldn't disagree with you in any way, shape, or form. And of course, the Ravens traditionally do this through the draft. But we have seen with Eric DeCosta, and I'll kind of go down this rabbit hole, right? Like with you before I kind of talk to you about some of my other ideas outside of maybe the pass rush. But
yeah.
Eric DeCosta and the Ravens generally have done this generationally from decade to decade. The Ravens do this through the draft, but Eric has had moments where he makes big splashes in either free agency or, in the trade market. I don't think that Myles Garrett is realistic.
Right.
So let me just straight up ask you, are the Cowboys really getting rid of number 11 over there?
Man, I tell you, the only reason I think there's a chance is because of the platform that he has and the voice that he has, and because of who the owner of the Cowboys is. I think it might be to some degree detrimental for Micah Parsons to have the audience of his podcast, to be the voice, to be able to vent about certain things. I think it makes Jerry Jones a little nervous, but also a little envious and jealous. I think it's not beyond Jerry Jones to be jealous of his own team, his own players' off the field success. Like that podcast isn't necessarily attached to the team. So I think there could be we're getting tired of him. And I heard some rumblings that maybe he's not the easiest to get along with. Who knows what that means? It could be same like the OBJ rumors that we heard all until he got here. Could be all bullshit, but I don't think it's shocking to hear that his name's being kicked around. Now that would be I wonder who would command more, because I think Myles Garrett is the better player, but I bet he's probably 5 years older.
He's 29, I think, and turning 30, and Micah Parsons 25. Yeah, so 4 to 5 years, however you know.
I think Parsons might get more because of that age difference. That's a pretty big gap in
yeah. No, I agree with you. I wholeheartedly agree with you there.
So, but that might be attractive too. You get 3 1s for a guy.
Yeah, and then and then the team that gets him is going to have to give him that's going to be the biggest contract of his career, most likely, right? Like,
yep.
I mean, if he continues to play well, say it's a 5-year deal, he's 30. I don't know if he commands another, you know what I mean? Or 3 years down the road, he might be able to re-up with 2 years left on the deal. But I think that most likely this is the lion's share of what he gets for his career, right? Yep. So they've got to commit to 3 1s or whatever it is. And then also the, $100 million plus guaranteed dollars. And I also am intrigued.
Move.
Yeah, no, it's not. But I am intrigued by the pairing of him back with his old boy, Odafe Owe.
Might spice things up, might put a little fire in Odafe,
I don't know about all that. It could, who knows? So we've talked about the D-line, and I wholeheartedly agree with you, right? Like the game was won and lost on the dominance of that defensive line. But I also want to talk about 2 things. One, I'm gonna shout out DK. I'm gonna throw some shade on DK real quick because he can't defend himself right now. He put in the chat. Side topic: where does Jalen Hurts stand versus Lamar Jackson now? And okay. Is this so all right? DK was speaking to Tom Votto, so I'm gonna give him a little bit of a pass. Guys, don't you dislike how much national attention Jalen Hurts is getting, but how little credit D-line is getting? Look, I think, Tom, that's just the nature of the business. DK saying yes, the question first. I think it's just the nature of the business, right? Because quarterbacks are always going to get all the praise, all the love, but they're also going to get the lion's share of the oh
blame.
my gosh, what blame, exactly, right? Like, no one's saying that the offensive line for Kansas City isn't the GOAT, or they aren't the GOAT, that isn't the greatest of all time offensive line anymore. They're saying that about Patrick Mahomes, right? Like, he's the one that's getting a lot of it. And the places where he's being defended are simply on social media at this point, right? Like, so I think that's just kind of the nature of the business. Dude, I also, it's hard for me to dislike Jalen Hurts, so I kind of don't, I don't really mind the attention. He's a robot. I'm convinced he's not even a human. Like, I'm pretty sure he eats inorganic matter and just like, I heard a rumor, doesn't he live like in a $250,000 house in Alabama somewhere? Like, and he just works out all off season or something like that. Like, he does nothing but wake up, work out, and play football. Like, he does very little outside of that. So for that reason, I'm a human. It's hard for me to dislike Jalen Hurts. But I to my point though, I'm gonna DK, I hate to say it to you, Jalen Hurts, as good as he played, he is no Lamar Jackson. He is no Lamar Jackson. I mean, I guess what I'm trying to say to your question, DK, is that my opinion hasn't changed, and that I think Jalen Hurts is still a really good winning quarterback. And obviously, you win a Super Bowl home, he just did it. But it doesn't do much for me as far as like comparing him to Lamar, and I'm biased. I get it. Obviously, Lamar just got gypped of the MVP, and we haven't even talked about that. But Lamar is, to me, especially after the Super Bowl loss, Patrick Mahomes, he's one of one. But this is what I wanted to get to, Glenn. On the outside, we saw Devontae Smith and we saw A.J. Brown. And maybe not all at the same time, but throughout the season, these are two dominant football players. Mm-hmm. Now we have Zay Flowers, we have Rashad Bateman, but did you feel any different about our outside guys when you saw them play? When you saw Devontae and you saw AJ and the way that they are physically and they have the hands, the length, the speed, the size, did you feel any different about that and feel like the Ravens might need to address that in one way, shape, or form? Are you good with what we got? You're rolling with it.
Well, it's a tough one because I do think they're missing an AJ Brown tough guy on the outside. I don't think they have that, but at the same point, I don't want to get rid of what we have. And I think Rashad Bateman and Zay Flowers certainly could do the Devontae Smith role in a sense. Like, Devontae's a wiry, thinner guy, gets open, play. I have no problem with what Zay and Rashad bring to the team. I don't want to get rid of either one of them. I like them as players. Bateman obviously had a big postseason with us, big stretch down the end of the season. I'm a fan of his, but I do think we might be missing that tough guy that who can win a slant route on 3rd and 8 when guys are when there's it's a zero blitz and they're pressing you at the line. We saw that from AJ. Just get open inside, make the tough catch, take the hit, get down, move the chains. I don't think we have that guy right now on the outside. That part, I think we could. But the question is, am I willing to? Do I think it's valuable enough to where you're going to invest a high-end draft pick for it? That's the part I don't know. It might be, or do we say, like, is Isaiah likely athletic enough to be that guy for us in that position? Could we say, flex him out and ask him to run that slant route? Maybe, but I do think having players on the outside that can make big time catches in big time moments matters. And as much as I love Mark Andrews, he didn't when it mattered most. It's tough with the fumble because that was a hell of a play and kind of just, oh man, it's just kind of bad luck in a lot of ways. But and you got to make the big time plays, and they did on Sunday night, and our guys didn't always. But it's like, do you want to get rid? Like, do you want to get rid of Zay or Rashad, or do you think we just need to add? Are we missing that 3rd guy? Is that the problem?
Yeah, it's hard, right? So, like, to me, I think strategically your best shot at landing a guy is you have to subtract someone, and I hate to do this, but I think it would have to be Rashad, right? Like, I think you have to say Zay is the guy that we hold on to. And then you use Rashad as along with something else.
Years left, right?
Yeah, and he's got a nice deal,
really good deal. Maybe is Mark the guy?
Yeah, is Mark the guy, right? Because you want Isaiah to kind
And
of
then that
step
money
into
goes
his own.
elsewhere.
Yeah, that's, and then also, I mean, look, this is getting really grasping at straws here. AJ Brown just won a Super Bowl. Is he still unhappy in
Oh,
Philadelphia?
I don't want that. I don't want the headache of AJ Brown. I mean, I don't know, man. He's a
Dude,
great
give me the
player.
headache, bro. Give me
Oh
the
man, I
headache,
can't
man.
find a guy like him. That's not
Yeah,
not.
name one guy like him.
Well, I think Debo. Look, Debo
Okay,
Samuel wants
all
to be
right.
a Raven.
And
Okay,
he's not a
Debo.
headache?
Okay, yeah, he is a bit of a headache. Every offseason he wants out, but
Every
he
offseason,
does
dude.
want
It's
out. He
drama with
does.
Debo, dude.
Yeah, there's a lot of drama.
But I tell you
surrounding
what, if
Debo.
we get Debo Samuels, Glenn, I'm rolling up to the bank for a game in a squeaky bike. Well, like Debo, like the reference.
No,
Like,
I got you. I got you.
yeah, sorry, DK was confused.
Oh, got you. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I'm rolling up. Yeah, man. But no, yeah, that's a good point. But I guess from overarching perspective, do you feel like we need to do something on the outside? Like, because I feel like now we like, last year we talked about how it'll be exciting for the offense to kind of, there's so many guys coming back, but now I feel more urgency to improve because this Eagles roster is loaded.
Yeah.
I mean, they're just loaded.
Yeah, done a great job. I mean, you got to give the GM credit. He's nailed it in the draft lately. He absolutely hit it out of the park this past year. Filled all the missing. I mean, their secondary was not very good, and he went out there and committed to it with draft picks. And hey, that's what maybe the Ravens just should do this year. Do what the Eagles did. Look, the Eagles needed secondary help. What did they do? They went out and just kept drafting DBs. Just DB first round, DB second round. They just kept doing it. Well, maybe the Ravens need to do that with the edge position and the defensive line group. And now, but the problem is they still need to address some other areas of this team, particularly the offensive line. The guards are set to, I think, be changed. I think certainly McCary is he's set to hit the free agency. Let's see what happens with him. If they do bring him back, I would hope and I would expect him to bring him back as a swing guy, not as a starter. I don't want to see him starting at left guard. So that's the part that makes it tricky. You want to be responsible and build this entire team up kind of as, you don't want to just raise one side and let the other side slide down. But damn, man, I think we got to invest in the trenches on both sides of the ball, and then everything else is secondary.
Dude, I think it's so funny, Glenn, that you come full circle with my exact thought, right? Like I was going to talk about the offensive line and like, is this what we're forgetting here, right? Because in this game, Saquon didn't go absolutely crazy running, but you talked about it. Jalen Hurts did damage on the ground, right? Didn't he have 2 rushing touchdowns?
He had 1
rushing touchdown,
2 passing.
Yeah. But he did damage on the ground. And then while it is a singular moment, the Super Bowl, the entire season, that offensive line was dominant to get them where they needed to go.
Yeah.
Right. Like you have to compile a season worthy of getting in the playoffs and then, ultimately get the job done in the playoffs. So to me, I think it's an area let's not forget about, because to be honest, I think that of our units, it's potentially the closest to being like elite, right? Like I think we can retain Ronnie. I think Tyler Linderbaum, I've said it, I think he's the best center in the league. I think Rosengarten is going to be a Pro Bowler next year. I think we found something in Falele that I'm worth hanging on to, right? Like I think it's worthy of hanging. So like, I mean, I think if we roll with those 4 guys, assuming that Falele is going to get better, Rosengarten is going to get better, and Ronnie's going to stay healthy, some of those are bigger ifs than others, but I think that's fair. Like natural.
I'm ready to move on from Falele. I'm ready to move on from Falele.
But I guess I don't think you have to.
You don't have to, but you want to be better.
Guard.
Yeah, you definitely need a left guard. I'd feel better about Voorhees next year than I would again about Falele. That's just
that's not fair. You're saying you feel better about Voorhees playing left guard than Falele playing right guard.
Correct.
When Voorhees got benched for McCary.
Yeah, but I didn't like that. I mean, he got benched because he was hurt.
He didn't get his job back.
Yeah, but that was more, I think, due to the cohesion. Everyone was looking and seeing what McCary was doing. He was horrible out there. Yeah. He was absolutely horrible. He was a penalty machine. He was getting absolutely tossed around out there. I see, here's the difference. I see, okay, there's still a future. Like, we still haven't seen the best of Voorhees. We know what we're getting out of McCary. And I guess to your point, like I don't know if we've seen but how long are we going to keep trying to make Falele into a guard? He's a 6'8", 400-pounder. Can we just say?
You're right. You're right. But and to your point, I think the easiest remedy for the Ravens is to get the best 2 guards in the draft.
Yeah.
Like you're picking at the bottom of the first. You're picking at the bottom of every round. Guess where you get a ton of value? At the bottom of, a guard at the bottom of rounds. Let's just dominate the draft and get the best freaking guards out there. Right?
Yeah.
Like screw everything else. Let's focus on the guards. Let's get them. And then let's go sign Micah Parsons. And let's just roll. But legitimately, though, I think that the exciting part about all of this is that if you look at the 3 units, the offensive line, I think, is the closest, in my opinion. But it's also, I think, the easiest to remedy. Because you can get the guards, right?
Well,
like, what edge guy are we?
Stanley back, then it's all of a sudden not so easy if you don't bring Stanley.
You're right. You're right. But think about what pass rushers are we getting at the end of the first?
Yeah, that's a good point. They're all going to be, they're going to be picked over. We're going to get probably the 6th best one.
Especially in this draft, right?
Yeah, they're going to be picked over. Yep.
Like, certainly these guys are being pushed up the draft because there's not like there's no Andrew Luck or.
Well, I'm seeing in the chat, DPG is mentioning the nice players thing again. The yes man, Harbaugh only gets yes men, and we need some bad guys to win. No,
think about the guys that John Harbaugh's had. Steve Smith is not a yes man. He's just not.
Well, even talking about like I don't like the idea of that you can't be good unless you're a jerk. Lamar's not a jerk.
Yeah.
Lamar's pretty fucking good. Like, what are we talking about? Like, you don't have to be an a-hole to be good at football. Like, let's stop. Yeah, you don't have to be a disruption to be good at football. There's that whole take of we need bad guys because that's who wins.
Pickens?
No, that's not. So just because a couple guys who had a bad reputation, like Jalen Carr, people are pointing at Jalen Carr. Well, by the way, Jalen Carr was picked where? We're never going to get that high. We're never going to pick him.
And he would have been number 1 if it weren't for the car accident.
Yeah, so you can point to a couple guys, but let's not act like the only good guy that, like, oh, we'll never win because we don't draft like jerks. Like, come on, stop. That's crazy. Like, Lamar is no jerk on this, and he's. Come on. I think you'll take him, right? Derrick Henry, is he a jerk? Like,
no. And House's point, I guess you can also distinguish like what people use the term dogs and like somebody who's relatively mean,
selfish.
Yeah. Because I can tell you what, there's nobody that is more of a dog when it comes to football than Derrick Henry. The dude works. He outworks everyone.
Life. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, think about it, dude. He's 31, plays the style of football that he plays, and they're talking about a contract extension. He was just all pro.
Yeah.
Think about how much work that's unseen that goes into the ability to do that.
Yeah.
Because the style of play is so ridiculous.
Yep.
And he's
with like Saquon. Saquon's like the nicest guy in the world, works hard. I know what DPG saying, not the whole team. I get what you're saying. Maybe you want a couple hotheads on the team. Okay, that's fine. That's fine. Yeah, I don't mind having a couple of hotheads that maybe need to. I'd rather have that than guys that you need to bring emotion to, like guys you need to feed emotion. Like, I'd rather have the tone guys back.
Maybe we get them. Who was the dude that we used to have in the offensive line? He went to Tampa Bay, redheaded.
Oh, Jensen. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, we get a Jensen on the O-line, right? Like,
well, that guy's different because he's only fighting the other team. Like, I don't care.
That's what I mean. You know what I'm saying?
Just don't fight your own teammates.
Right. That's why you couldn't pay me if I'm on the Ravens to pick up like a George Pickens.
No, heck no.
Like, you couldn't pay me enough money. I would never take him under any circumstances.
No, exactly.
Yeah, but I'm excited about the fact that, of the 3 things that I learned of the 3 units that I identified as areas where we can improve, we're already good to above average. And I think that the offensive line, Glenn, I'm just going to say this. I should put the show on rewind. I said last year going to the draft, we should get the best guards in the draft.
Yeah. Oh, we talk about every year building in the trenches. Yeah.
The formula hasn't changed.
Well, look, we got to give credit where it's due. They have addressed the offensive line in top rounds lately. Linderbaum being one of them.
Sure.
Rosengarten being another one. Sure. Like, it's not like they're
but
not.
We did wish they would have taken multiple swings last year, right?
We did. I think that's absolutely fair. Quickly, I wanted to go over some of these names here. Shefty put out the Ravens' key free agents this offseason. We talked about Ronnie Stanley being a guy I think we all agree we want to bring back. Who else on this list do you view as a guy we have to try and bring back, if any?
Yeah. Number one priority for me is, where is he? Where is he? He's not on this list? Is what's his name? Deontay Johnson.
Stop it.
I'm totally kidding.
No, but I have no problem rooting for him to get a monster deal.
Yeah.
I mean, that's never going to happen, but
yeah, right, exactly. I think Ronnie clear and above is the number one priority here.
Mm-hmm.
But I think outside of that, oh man, I think Malik Harrison did a lot for himself this year, and well, I guess I'm overlooking Pat. I just think Patrick Carr's going to be back. Why does he want to go anywhere? Like,
no, it wouldn't be. I don't think it would be him wanting to leave. I think it would be potentially the Ravens wanting to save some cost.
Yeah, but I think if Derrick Henry's here, we're the number one rushing team in the league. I think they're willing to spend a couple shekels on their fullback. I think that's fair.
Yeah. Can you hear my dog
barking?
Yes.
Yes.
Is it really loud?
No, it's fine. It's totally fine. It would be worse if you had a Chihuahua.
Oh, yeah, because it's at least not yappy. At least it's
yeah. But I think, so Patrick Ricard, that's another good one. But I truly think that's not even an issue. I think he comes back, my opinion.
But if we were going to rank them, let's rank them. So Ronnie's 1.
Ronnie.
Is Ricard 2?
2, yeah.
Okay. All right, I got 1 and 2. All right, who's 3 on this list?
I think 3 for me is Malik.
3's Malik.
Because he was a cog in this defense when what's the dude's name? Clemson kid. 23.
Simpson. Yeah.
Simpson, he kind of fizzled out. So we did this combination of Board and Malik. And Malik had some big games, dude. He came in and stepped in when Roquan. So for me, it's Malik.
And I guess Malik to at this point, he would be a relatively inexpensive pick and maybe a guy that you're hoping is your third linebacker, not your second, but at least if Roquan were to miss 2 weeks, Malik can go in and get you double-digit tackles each week. I think that's a fair statement.
For sure. Now, you want to avoid certain situations for him, most definitely. Now, somebody's saying Ardarius is not on this list, right?
I don't see him on this list, no.
He's a restricted free agent, DK? Yeah, so we can
okay.
I mean, he's basically just going to be on the team for much less than what he's worth next year. It's the way it's going to work out for Ardarius. Sorry, dude.
I mean, so do you only put Malik on that list? And what about Chris Board? He's also listed here.
Right. So prior to Chris Board, now let me ask you a question. Where does Nelson Aguilar and Tylan Wallace fall for you?
Yeah, I mean, the tough part is I think I'm ready to move on from Nelson Aguilar.
I think that Tylan can fall into that Aguilar role.
Oh, man, I'm so
and bring more explosion, maybe, potentially, after the catch, things like that,
I don't know what it is about Tylan, man. It's like sometimes he makes plays and other times he just looks like he can't get open and can't separate.
Yeah.
And that's the part that worries me. Like I'm okay with Tylan if he's my 6th receiver. I'm good with that. I think he's a good 6th. But I don't know if I mean, maybe 5th, but I don't even know if I'm ready. Look, he's had moments, but when I watch him, it looks like he struggles to get open. And oftentimes the reason he's had moments is he's the forgotten guy in the eyes of the defense. He's the guy who requires
and it's off script.
Yeah, it doesn't ever seem like the Ravens ever draw anything up for him, even in scenarios where guys are hurt ahead of him and he's being thrust into a bigger role. It's like the only time he makes plays is, to your point, when it's off script. So it's like, I don't know. I'll be okay with it. Like if he wants to stick around for a league minimum, okay, that's fine. Because he brings things to the special teams as well, not just a 6th receiver. So I'm okay with that. All the Deontay Hardy, see ya. Trayvon Mullen, see ya. Sims, we'll call you if we need you next year during the season if we get some injuries. But other than that, see ya. Quarterback. Do you think it's time for the Ravens to then switch their emphasis from a veteran season? Like, do you still think Lamar Jackson benefits from having a Josh Johnson type quarterback at number 2? Or do you think it's time for them to start thinking about, I don't even know, a younger, cheaper, like this isn't replacement time. Like we're still years from that where you're starting to think about drafting replacements. But what's your take on backup QB?
No, yeah, I think overall the investment needs to be higher when it comes to, or there needs to be a greater investment in the backup quarterback. I think we've gotten away from kind of, going to the bottom of the barrel of the clearance rack. No offense, Josh Johnson, I'm sorry, but I think we need a little bit safer of an investment. I think that, I saw a list the other day of decent backup quarterbacks that are going to be on the market, and I just think we need a little bit more. Obviously, you never want them to play, but so I think it is time to improve that backup quarterback spot. I mean, do you agree?
Yeah, I agree. I don't know how much a Josh Johnson has really helped. Like if this was a second, third year Lamar Jackson, but at this point, Lamar Jackson's pretty much seen it all. How many years are we into his into his career? He's played at the highest of levels. I think he's seen. Now, if you give me a veteran who's maybe won a Super Bowl, who's seen it all, done it all type of guy, maybe I'd be open to bringing in that type of backup. But Josh Johnson's a career backup, and that's it. So no, I think a better investment at the backup quarterback position is what is needed. On the offensive line here, what do you think they do with Ben Cleveland? Is it time for him to have a new scenery? Is that
yeah, he's out of here, right?
Yeah, I think he's out of here. Josh Jones. I wouldn't be opposed to them. They keep 10 offensive linemen. I wouldn't be opposed to him being the 10th guy, but I'm also not opposed to them, maybe getting a younger guy who has a little bit more runway and some more upside to him. So yeah, I mean, Tre'Davious White, see ya. Marcus Williams, adios.
Get out of here.
Holy smokes. I can't wait. What's your take on Patrick McCarry? Do you think that they'll look to try and get him on a team-friendly deal or what do you think?
I think familiarity matters. I think versatility matters. And I think his value is highest here. I think he knows that too.
Do you put him fourth? Do you put him ahead of Malik Harrison and behind Pat Ricard? Where do you rank him?
That's a good point.
Yeah, where do you want to bring him back?
Bleh. I'm not overly compelled to bring any of these guys back. That's why I'm part of me just wants who cares? But I also don't want to diminish what they are, right? A team is full of these guys, and then you have incredible talent around them. So
you're gonna likely get an injury at the offensive line position, and McCarry can check a lot about at least for a stretch where he won't embarrass you.
Right. So I guess if I had to, I guess I'm putting him. Dang, I'm probably putting him 3. Yeah,
3, and then finally, I agree with you. By the way, I do think he's 3 on my list as well, behind Ronnie Stanley and Pat Ricard. And then finally, after last offseason, a year ago today, we're probably talking, man, what kind of deal is Brandon Stevens commanding on the open market?
I know.
If not here, then where? What do they do with Brandon Stevens, Jimbo?
Yeah. I think you let him walk. You
think so? Okay. Is it just because he's so soured by the fan base that even if he says, look, I'll come back for the minimum, do you think they could even bring him back? Or is it just God, if we bring him back, the fans are going to lose their shit?
I don't think the Ravens honestly care that much about whether or not we lose our minds. The fans would lose their minds, but I don't know how much they in a
really sense that do we really we'll take them back, I guess. But then they go, but do we really want to deal with all the shit that's going to come along with signing him?
I also wonder,
don't get that much out of it.
Right. I also wonder if there's a team that struggles more in the secondary than us that does see some things in Brandon Stevens and maybe want to give him a little bit, want to give him a couple bucks, right? Want to give him a shot. Want to give him a prove it deal.
Okay. I think it'd be good for him to move on.
DK saying we just don't want him to start, right?
I hear you, but is it so if he's your 4th or 5th corner, is that worth I don't know. I just think if he's already going to be your 4th or 5th guy, then why not just move on and get another guy who hasn't been here, who you don't really know? I think we know what Brandon Stevens is.
Or get a rookie.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Move on, get a younger guy.
I also think if Brandon Stevens becomes our 4th or 5th, how many guys are we going to need to improve? I think if Brandon Stevens moves down from a top 3 to your 5th in your rotation, you're going to need some talent ahead of
TJ Tampa steps up for sure.
Yeah, that's a possibility, but we just don't know.
And then Marlon and Wiggins. I mean, that's your.
Yeah, I guess if he's your 4, that's true. But that's saying a lot of TJ Tampa. I don't know if he's.
DK
saying he's always available. He's never hurt. That's worth something for sure. I think he ends up getting
that's what the offenses are counting on.
Yeah, I think he gets a 1-year deal from somewhere. A team that likes
probably
him.
The Chargers.
You know what? Probably. In all honesty, probably the Chargers.
Be the damn Chargers. Yeah, but everybody else on this list, CLA. I mean, Brent Urban. It's so funny because every time I watch a Wired episode, I fall in love with Brent Urban because he's such a team guy. He has no problem hyping up other players on the team, which isn't always easy for big time athletes. I love watching him and Mike Pierce on the sideline watch our offense on the big screen. I absolutely love the joy on that man's face is so freaking genuine. But as a player, he's an older guy. Now he announced 1 more year. He says 1 more year on Twitter. So I guess I'm okay with if he's your 5th defensive or interior defensive lineman, I guess, but I also wouldn't be opposed to them getting younger, maybe a little more quick twitchy, more pass rush than you're getting out of Brent.
Yeah, I agree with you there. He is a fun player to watch, though.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's fun to root for sure. Have got to go at the same time. Keep them both or kick them both. Yeah, they do seem like a package deal when you watch those guys mic'd up. They love each other. And look, the writing was on the wall, right, with Michael Pierce, with the signing. Everybody's lined up to sign a helmet in his locker. I don't think they'd be doing that without a pretty good indication he's going to be gone.
Mm-hmm.
So if it's the package, DK, then sorry, Brent. It's Mike's fault.
He
retired.
Then Brent just sets off into the sunset as well. He might change his mind. Who knows?
That's it.
They'll jaunt in a field, a sunset, in a field of flowers. Wouldn't it be nice? And they could just, skip and two of the nicest guys. But certainly, if you were in an alley and you had to walk past those guys, I would be intimidated.
Be a little scared, a little shook up.
Yeah, I have to also say this: Michael Pierce is not much taller than me, Glenn. 6 foot is a bunch of crap.
Yeah, I know. That is funny that they got him at 6 foot. I feel like he's way, way under that. Like,
yeah. I mean, I saw him at a Cheesecake Factory and was like, bro.
Was he double fisting cheesecakes? Was he just?
It was the year he came in at 390. Remember that?
Oh my, that's right. He failed the conditioning test.
Well, and John was worried about his heart. Remember that?
Yep. Yeah, he's like, I don't think he's fit enough to even do this. This is insane. Look at him. He's huge. But also wanted to quickly mention and get your take on the fact that the Ravens and Derrick Henry are set to begin extension talks very soon. It sounds like Derrick Henry wants to retire a Raven, and the Ravens are feeling the same way, want to keep him around. It's hard to say this about a guy like Derrick Henry, but like, what do you expect him to? Do you expect the Ravens to go into next year thinking if we need to, we can lean on him just like we did last year? Like, do you expect him to start to try and work maybe a 2-back system, maybe with Mitchell being 1 year healthier, 1 more year removed from injury, that maybe they want? Or do you think that they're comfortable going, look, Derrick Henry looked like he slowed down a bit last year, and if we need him to be our bell cow, we can do it?
Yeah, I think it has to be the second option. The hard thing about Derrick is like he can't be a low volume guy, in my opinion. Like, it just doesn't fit his game. Right. So he's one of those pitchers, right? Like, dude, who's the massive legs used to pitch for the Yankees? White dude. Roger Clemens.
No, yeah. The pitcher.
Like, Roger has to be your guy, like 7, 8, like, or else why? You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
I just feel like Derrick is a lot like that in a lot of ways. And so I think he's worth the investment. I honestly think an extension probably just means 1 more year after this coming year. I don't think it means anything major. I just think it means more guaranteed money and 1 extra year. I'd be shocked if they give him truly multiple, like, more years after this coming season. But look, he's proven it that it's that there's so much in his control that he can control that he's been able to do. And so he's the blueprint, dude.
Yeah, it's funny. I was watching him. I don't know if you caught it, Jimbo, but it really warmed my heart to see. He was talking to Micah Parsons on his podcast, and he was asked, "Hey, are you going to be ring chasing? Are you going to be going to the Chiefs like some of these veterans have done to try and get a ring?" He said, "Nah, I got the quarterback I've always wanted to play with, and I'm not leaving Baltimore." So I was like, "Look at that, man! Go ahead, Derrick. Go ahead, Derrick. No ring chasing for Derrick. He's going to chase it right in Baltimore.
That's right. I also liked when he was like, I want both of them to lose.
Yes.
Just the realness of it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, because, I mean, I can't imagine. Like, do you think any Ravens watched, like, I mean, I guess maybe some of them did, but I got to imagine, as much as it hurt me as a Ravens fan, I can't imagine being a player on this team and still watching that game.
Yeah.
You know?
That would just be tough, dude.
Brutal. Like, at least if you're in the front office or even in the coaching staff, you can, really turn the page to the offseason and deep dive into the work that is. But players, they can't do that yet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree.
Brutal.
Glenn, I think that's it for us tonight. What do you think?
I think that's it. That's all I had on my list. Yes, sir.
Let's go. We're going to be back, ladies and gentlemen. What we're going to be doing is, of course, we're going live every week, but we're also going to be putting out some topic-specific videos, just like you guys are used to as we do in the off-season. Of course, there'll be, hopefully some more of them, but there's a ton to talk about, so stay tuned. Yeah. We're going to, take some time and do some deep dives. It's officially off-season time, so make sure you hit the subscribe button, stay tuned, turn your notifications, all the above. That's it for us tonight, folks. We will talk to you soon.
See you.
All right.